Hello everyone and welcome back to the Retro Recall. I hope you're doing awesome. What's better than free tech? Anytime I get a chance that I get donations on the channel, I definitely accept them. And this is no different. These two machines were part of a larger donation to the channel by Carl. So Carl, thank you so much. Carl sent me a note down below in the comments and said, hey, I have a bunch of tech that I'm going to be tossing over to e-waste. It sounds like you're on the East Coast. Would you like to arrange for some shipping if it's not too expensive? I said, absolutely no problem. Let's get in touch via email, which we did. We collaborated back and forth, only to discover that Carl lives 20 minutes away. And I was absolutely flabbergasted at that. I thought that was great. I met up with Carl and got a bunch of cool stuff, which we'll be featuring in a couple of Retro Recall videos, so stay tuned. So the first thing we're going to do is go over these two machines that we're going to e-waste. Do they work? I have no idea. Let's go over each machine and find out what they're all about. We have lots to do. Let's get right to it. Welcome back. The very first machine we have on the bench is a Dell, and it's in really great condition. So I don't know where these were stored or how they were looked after, but so far looks really good. And the nice thing about this is that Carl also included the power adapters for these machines and all the equipment, which was really nice. Not too often I'm able to get them with that. Okay, let's take a look at the front of this laptop. So we have a power indicator, hard disk activity, charging, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth indicators. We have our latch for our monitor to be able to open up the screen. Along the front, we do have, it looks like 3 ports for, it looks like dual headphones by the looks of things, as well as a microphone port. And we have an SD, MMC, MS Pro, so a multi-port card reader by the looks of things. And it is populated with one of the blanks that are Dell branded. Not too often you still see these as part of these machines after all these years. And they're designed to go in when you're not using them to keep the dirt and dust and grime out of the reader. So nice to see that this is already populated with it. Along the right side, looks like we have a PC card slot. And is that just a blank? Yeah, sure enough, it's still populated with the blank. I just absolutely love when they still come with these because it completes the look of the machine. So this looks like it was really well looked after. We do have, it looks like a wireless toggle on and off switch. Looks like we have a multi-reader writer drive, so DVD and CDRWs. We have an S-video out connector with 2 USB, imagine USB 2. Along the back, we do have a battery that's protruding from the back. So generally these were longer life batteries with more cells. The ones that were more flush to the back of the machine, just to give you an idea, you can see here the layout, the footprint. But generally when they were flush with the back of the machine, they were 4 or 6 cell batteries. And then the extended battery life ones had those extra cells in there, usually between 7 and 9 cells. Continuing on, we have some additional ventilation. Along the other side, we have, it looks like our Kensington lock, our power adapter, and sometimes these were broken off inside, so it's nice to see this in really good condition. 2 additional USB ports, which makes us 4 now. VGA connectivity, integrated Ethernet, as well as modem, which I imagine, given the year of this machine, would be probably putting it around a 56K modem. We have HDMI out, and we have a 1394 connection. Really nice to see those video options on a machine of this age and in this condition. Okay, along the bottom, we do have, it looks like our battery, as we mentioned earlier. We'll just pop that out for a moment just to make it a little easier to navigate. But these are definitely hefty, the longer life ones. This looks like it is an aftermarket. It says Anker, A-N-K-E-R. And it says replace type 1525, 1526. So definitely an aftermarket battery, which probably gives a good sign that this could still be working, which is great. And looking in the battery compartment bay, we do have an indicator here of a slot. So let's take a look. So yeah, we do have a slot available, and by the looks of things, I think that these were equipped with a WWAN or a wireless WAN connection, so a cellular device. So you could put a SIM card, that's what that indicates. a SIM card in here to be able to log this machine onto the cellular network. So you wouldn't be tied to running either Wi-Fi, in a coffee shop or something. It's a little more secure, right? Or having to find an Ethernet plug somewhere. So that's really good to see. Okay, and a whole bunch of regulatory information, which we don't need to see at the moment. And let's open this up and see what we have inside. I really love doing this stuff, kind of exploring these older machines, because you never really know what has been upgraded in them, what's been changed out, what still comes with them as you go through this. When Carl had spoke to me about all this, he didn't really say much outside of the fact that he was going to toss these to e-waste. They were in good condition for what they were, that I believe he had said that this machine here came with a hard disk. We'll have to take a look at that in a moment. But essentially, he had said that he had wiped the data off of it. So that's good, of course. But again, just to bring everyone up to speed. All right. What's really great about this, and because I get really excited when I see these things, is this is all totally accessible. Anybody who's worked on, machines like this know that, to be able to be exposed directly to the heatsink with the CPU as well as the GPU area, to be able to take these apart, to be able to replace the thermal paste, to do all the cleaning, to troubleshoot these machines, all those things, to have it all user accessible like this is absolutely amazing. And, to be able to access this area, and I will notice that it is really, really clean. So either Carl cleaned it before he gave it to me, or it's been well kept. The memory itself looks like DDR2 memory, I believe, by the looks of things. This doesn't really give me an idea as to what this memory slot is, but I'll take the second one out just in case. We have some Corsair value select RAM. It says VS2GS, so I see 2G. I'm going to guess this is 2 gigabytes of memory. I'm not sure exactly what. I do like the material grade of these connectors, because generally these are made out of plastic on some of the cheaper models. And it looks like Dell didn't skimp, and we do have some metal edge connectors here. Because if these break off, they don't hold the memory in place for you, so you have to really, MacGyver it, as they say, to try to get it to work. Okay, we have a couple of wires coming down here, and I really like how they're well organized and nice and clean looking. We have UWB, so I don't know what this is for. It looks like we have a missing card that would be populated here. I don't know if that is, say a Bluetooth connection or what that would be for. We do have our WWAN connection, so it does speak to what that other slot was for in the battery compartment for the SIM card for the cellular network. So that's where that would go, and you connect your antenna onto that. And then we have our WLAN or wireless LAN card, which is connected currently. So I mean, this does have the wireless LAN integrated into this machine, already populated. It's a shame, really, because I'd like to see those two in action. So maybe let me know down in the comments where you think we can find those. I don't have a lot of these machines, so I don't know if I'm able to find any donors for that. Okay, moving on. Now, like I said, he did say that one of these machines had the hard disk installed. And so I see the hard disk caddy is over here on the right. We're just going to remove that real quickly. See if I can get this screw out. There we go, very carefully. And we'll see if to slide this out. Yeah, okay, so this is populated with a hard disk. Flip it around, take a look at what hard disk is installed. We have a Western Digital, Scorpion Blue, it looks like a SATA interface. Capacity is showing 180 gigabytes at its 5400 RPM. Now, a couple things. I found these drives very unreliable in my experience because of the abuse that some of these machines took with this. I mean, this one comes with the drive cage, but not all of them were well protected in these areas. And I say the drive cage because some of these machines, when you get them, don't have that, so it makes it very difficult to replace the hard disk. In this particular case as well, the 5400 RPM drives were very slow, I found, to access the data. I mean, they went down so far as 4200 RPM. Now, I really love the 7200 RPM versions of these back in the day. Now, of course, we do have the ability to put SATA M.2. We do have SATA SSDs today in this format that you can slide right in here and bam, give it all the performance it requires to take advantage of this. And being the machine that it is, I mean, you could still get some life out of these, and we'll talk about that in a moment. All right, let's put all this back together and flip it around and take a look at more of the machine. Okay, welcome back, and here we are with the inside of the Dell laptop, the first machine, and there is that glare glossy screen. I found these so difficult to work with over the years. They show all the fingerprints, scratches. Good luck taking them out in the outside in the sun and what have you. I just never ever liked this, and anybody who watches the channel knows I say that a lot. We have a webcam up top. I kind of out of frame there. We have a webcam and looks like a microphone. We have Inspiron or Inspiron, depending on how you pronounce that, is 1525 is the model. Looks like we have a sleep button as well as a power button. Looks like some capacitive or touch buttons here that would be for volume controls, pause, stop, so like a multimedia center to be able to, adjust your volumes and things like that. Along the keyboard itself is in really good condition. The Dell keyboards of the era I found were very, very sturdy and good. However, it's rare that a machine that is in this age group is still in this good of condition. So I'm not sure if this was even heavily used. I mean, even the screen itself, I don't know if Carl just completely refurbished it or not before he decided to give it to me. But I mean, like I said, he said it was going to e-waste, so I'm not sure. The trackpad itself, even, like, normally you'd have like wear marks where your fingers were, unless an external mouse was used at the time instead. And on the right here, we have a couple case badges. So it looks like we have our Intel Pentium dual core inside, as well as our Windows Vista. Okay, here we are with our Dell system info. It says Inspiron 1525. It shows a date code of 2008. So it puts this machine in 2008, which makes sense with Vista. And but again, being as old as it is in this condition, I think it's really, really good. Under processor info, we have Intel Pentium dual core, 2.16 gigahertz it currently running at, with a minimum clock speed of 1 gigahertz with 1 megabyte of L2 cache. Dual core, of course. Memory info, there we are. We have 4 gigabytes of memory running in dual channel mode. DDR2 memory, which we had noticed earlier, so nice to see that there. Under device info, we do have our 160 gigabyte hard disk, which we know about because we've already taken it out and taken a look. We have our DVD multi-drive video controllers, Intel Crestline graphics. I have never heard of Crestline graphics, so keep me honest in the comments what that is. Video BIOS version of 1566, so does that mean we could potentially flash the BIOS on that as well? 8 megabytes of video memory. Not sure if that's shared memory or if that's something that is integrated, like has its own separate memory. I mean, we saw the chip down under the accessible area, but again, let me know down in the comments. Panel type is 15.4-inch wide XGA monitor, 1280 by 800 resolution. So nothing to write home about in terms of resolution, but again, of its age, of its era, really good condition. Audio controllers, a Sigma-Tel 9205, with our modem controller being a Connexent HDA D330. I would assume that this is a 56K modem, as I indicated earlier. Wi-Fi device is a Dell wireless device. Pretty common in these machines. Dell tended to use their own Dell branded wireless devices. Cellular device and Bluetooth devices are not present. We saw that underneath the accessible bay, and our AC adapter type is 65 watts. Battery info, it's showing 100% idle, 100% charged, and it's showing the battery health as operating normally. Interesting, it's aftermarket, so it's very possible that's the case and is working just fine. Under our date and time, we have showing Thursday, October 16th of 2008. It is not that time. So obviously the CMOS battery somewhere is gone in this machine. So, any machine, I mean, the newer ones are less risk, but still, if you have a CMOS battery that's not working correctly, I recommend replacing them as soon as you can. Boot sequence, this is where you'd go in and configure that. Onboard devices, so we have our integrated NIC, external USB ports, media card, and 1394 connection. SATA operation, so you'll be able to go in here and change all these settings for all the various devices that are integrated into this machine. Under video, we don't have anything fancy. We just have our brightness, whether it's plugged in or not. Security, all our password stuff. Performance, multi-core support, anything to do to try to tweak the performance of the machine. Power management, we don't do a lot in here. Maintenance, load default or service tag information. Post behavior, what happens as you're booting up the machine, what do you want it to do? And then of course our wireless, we can go in here and change the settings of our Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, cellular, what the switch does, etc. So overall, I mean, I'm happy so far. I mean, this machine, again, was destined for the scrap pile, and regardless of being recycled or not, it just would have been completely destroyed and taken apart. And here we are, a piece of history with the machine working, and who knows what it'll be like in a few more years. Okay, I think we're going to do a quick restart on this and find out if it boots into an operating system. And here we are, by the looks of things, we are booting into Windows 7 Home Premium. And of course, it is saying that Windows 7 is not genuine. We know. I was already told that this was installed just to get this operational. Let's go to my computer real quick and just take a look at the machine properties. So we do have Windows 7 Home Premium with our Intel Pentium Dual CPU T3400. I wonder if that's upgradable. Let me know down in the comments if this you feel this machine would be upgradable based on what we see already installed. 4 gigabytes of memory, 3.49 gigabyte usable. So I imagine some of this memory is being, being shared. So the answer to my question regarding the video card earlier is probably shared memory. 32-bit operating system is what's installed. Nothing too fancy here under Device Manager. I imagine we're just relying on the devices drivers that would have been installed as part of Windows 7. Yeah, here we are. So we have our computer, our disk drives, there's our Western Digital drive installed, display adapters, our mobile Intel 965 Express chipset family, which we saw earlier in the setup. Sometimes I go through these because it gives you a little more information as what it's installed versus what is in the, say, the Dell setup screen. We have TSST Corp DVD plus minus RW drive. Under our imaging device is our integrated webcam, nothing fancy there. Under our modem, it looks like HDA CX11270 soft modem. It's not even a hardware modem, it's a software modem. Again, cutting costs, but there's probably a 56K modem. Network adapters, we have our Dell Wireless 1395 WLAN mini card, very common in these machines, and Marvel Yukon PCIe fast Ethernet controller, so gigabit, I'd imagine. There's some base devices that are missing here as well. And our CPU, our processors, we have our dual core CPU. All right, under sound, we have that Sigmatel installed. Just as high definition audio device. I imagine you get a lot more specific if you have the drivers directly from Dell. Now, mind you, this is Windows 7 that's been installed. This machine was designed for Vista. I say designed for loosely when I do that, but essentially these would have been installed. These drivers would have all been pre-packaged. I mean, overall, I'm very impressed with this machine. The fact that this was destined for e-waste, and here it is sitting on the bench and fully functional with a fully functional operating system. Now, I would be, in this particular case, I would see how much more memory we could squeeze out of it. I mean, I know it's running 32-bit operating system, but could we put a 64 to recognize more memory? You know, potentially upgrade the hard drive from a 5400 RPM SATA drive to, say, a SATA to M.2 or potentially an SSD. Maybe change out the operating system to a Linux distribution. I feel like we get a lot of speed out of this because this was snappy enough running Windows 7 with a 5400 RPM SATA drive. What would that look like with all those upgrades and a potential upgrade to the system? But let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see done with this Dell Inspiron 1525 from 2008. Another option I could do is download the Dell restoration images for this particular machine and see what came with this machine out of the box. I really love doing that as well. I mean, there's two extremes you can go. Like I said, we can either go and do those upgrades, install Linux, and see if we can get this operating on a brand, basically in today's internet and everything working, or we can go backwards and completely just restore this to what it was like out of the box with the restoration discs. And if Dell doesn't have it, chances are somebody on archive.org have uploaded it. So definitely something I want to try out. All right, let's go on to system number 2. Okay, here we are with system number 2. It looks to be a slightly older machine, Hewlett-Packard, by the looks of things. On the front, we do have some LEDs that shows our Wi-Fi, power, charging, and hard disk activity. Looks like our front latch to be able to open up the machine, as well as a couple of speaker grills. Okay, along the right side, looks like we have looks like a multi-card reader. A couple of USB ports, I imagine, given the age of the machine, probably USB 2. We have a DVD-ROM compact CDR-RW ultra speed drive. So it looks like a CDRW and a DVD-ROM built in. We have integrated modem as well on this side. Continuing on the back, we have, it looks like a Kensington lock. Our battery, which again is flush compared to the other machine, the Dell we had, which protruded from the chassis. So this would have been one of the ones that are flush, so it would probably be a 4 or 6 cell. We have integrated Ethernet. We have our VGA, and it looks like S-Video along the back. And I found on these machines over the years, the hinges would break on these quite a bit, and it's nice not seeing those cracked. So overall, so far, in really good condition. Okay, continuing on here, we have a power on this side. We have a heatsink for our heat dissipation. We have a couple more USB 2 ports by looks of things, a couple of audio jacks, as well as a 1394 connection. And I believe we have a PC card slot with, again, one of those blanks protecting the inside from getting all gummed up. So again, really nice to have that still intact after all these years. Let's take a look at the bottom of the machine. Okay, here's the bottom of the machine. Looks like we have our battery and we have a docking port. And I'm not sure if this is part of the docking port as well. I'm just not sure if that would be, used in tandem with, where it would connect into. But whenever you see a docking port like this, generally these were used in more of a business application. It says product, a compact 6710B with a Hewlett Packard logo here as well. We'll get into that in a few moments when we open up the machine. And some additional ventilation, and we have what looks like 3 accessible user ports. Looks like we have where the memory will probably be stored. It looks like HP 3D drive guard, so that's where our hard disk would probably be located. And down here, it looks like a picture of a Bluetooth, so I'm not sure if that's where the Bluetooth module will be present as well. You know how you find out? You open them up and find out. That's what we're going to do right now. Okay, let's open up this screw and see what is behind door number 1. All right, so it looks like we have our wireless LAN card installed, as well as some memory. And there's some, this is one of those setups that have the metal lined plastic kind of connections, which is really good, again, for longevity. I really look at the, when you're working on these machines as they get older, these become very brittle. Okay, it looks like we have 1 gigabyte of DDR2 memory. So I'm not sure if 1 gigabyte is the only thing that's in here, or if this machine has just the 1 gigabyte module or the 1 DIMM bay accessible, where the other one would be hidden somewhere, say under the keyboard, which was quite common in some of these machines. 2 screws on this side. Pretty straightforward to open, and all these manufacturers had different types of nomenclatures for what they called their protective areas for their hard disks. Because obviously, if you have spinning, platter drives that are running, it's nice to have some sort of rubberized protection. All right, so this is the one with no hard disk in it. Now, this is a very teeny little window here, and okay. All right, so by the looks of things, it's just a wire, so this does not have Bluetooth installed, but I imagine you would just put the card attached to this, I guess, and just kind of just pop it down inside. Well, doesn't have it, so we're not going to focus too much on that, but it is nice having the covers for all 3 of these areas all intact. And overall, this is machine number 2 from Carl, and it's an excellent shape for the age, I will say. All right, let's flip this around and take a look at the inside of the machine. All right, here we are on the inside of the machine, and I'm already in love. We have that beautiful matte finished LCD panel. Love, love, love that. Looks to be a 15-inch version. No webcam this time. The webcam was on the Dell, not on this one. We have our HP Compact 6710B is the model of this machine. And really, we all know Hewlett Packard had acquired Compaq, and there were a lot of loyal Compaq users, so they kept the kind of the moniker going for a little while during that transition, similar to Lenovo and IBM. Everyone was very dedicated to IBM branding as well as the ThinkPad line, and Lenovo kept the ThinkPad name, but IBM handed it off. But there was a time when you would have IBM and Lenovo logos on the machine. We featured a couple on the channel, And again, we have a few in stock here. So we have the Hewlett Packard logo, as I mentioned. We have our power button along with, looks like, again, some additional ones you can kind of like some buttons you can push up here. It doesn't look like buttons, but more touchscreen type things. Looks like we have a mute control, volume control slider that's here as well, or you just tap them and probably light up. I'm not sure what drivers would be required to be able to activate that technology, but again, hopefully Hewlett Packard or archive.org have these available on their website. The keyboard itself is good. I mean, we'll talk about two things here in terms of the keyboard. The condition as it is today versus the condition just overall feel of the keyboard. So overall feel of the keyboard, I mean, it would be okay. I mean, it wouldn't be something my favorite will always be a ThinkPad keyboard. That Dell wasn't too bad either. This is okay, but it feels kind of cheap a little bit. I find that the keyboards were. And the condition of this keyboard, however, is immaculate. You can see that all the letters are all there. They're not all worn off, especially a machine of this vintage. And then, of course, also, I would find that these, over the years, these keyboards tend to pop off their keys, or they're missing the space bar, or it's broken on one side. This is not showing any signs of that wear and tear you would normally see. The same goes for the trackpad. If you notice the trackpad itself, usually you have, as you're using the trackpad with your finger, the oils from your skin will either make marks on the plastic bezel here or on the trackpad itself. I'm only seeing a little bit of wear on where the mouse buttons would be. And even like one of those pink erasers could potentially wear some of that down, so you wouldn't even see that. But overall, I mean, it looks to be an immaculate condition for something that was being thrown to e-waste. And of course, we also have what looks like a fingerprint reader. Again, something really common on business class PCs versus, say, like a residential application. Okay, we have the plug all plugged in. Let's hit the power button and see if we're able to get into anything. All right, we are booting. HP Invent, we saw the HP screen, says time and date are not set, and non-system disk. So very quick loading through that. Let me just turn this light off so we can have a better view. Okay, so I'm going to do a restart here and see if I can catch that F10 setup. So it says entering setup. It says ROM-based setup. All right, here we go. So computer setup version 1.3, display system information, and F1 about. I'm gonna hit F1 just to see what we have. It says for additional information on F10 setup, please refer to the computer setup section in the hardware and software guide. Use the following keys to configure an option. So right for space, next setting, or left for backspace, and it shows you how to navigate all of this. Okay, let's click on our system information, or I should say press enter. We have a Hewlett Packard Compaq 6710B with some serial information, a SKU number, and it says service ID or 0, so I'm not sure if this was replaced or the board was replaced in this at some point. Intel Celeron CPU 540 running at 1.8 gigahertz. We have 64 kilobytes of L1 cache, and of course 1 megabyte of L2 cache. I know a lot of people weren't a fan of the Celeron CPUs, but here we are. And we have 3 gigabytes of memory. Okay, so that's telling me that the 1 gig that we have accessible to us is one thing, but then of course the other one was probably accessible. The other 2 gigs is probably somewhere else, probably under the keyboard. Okay, so on a ROM date, we have 2007, so it gives us an idea of when this computer was manufactured. We have restore defaults, ignore changes, and save changes. Under security, we have a set up password, power on password, which are not set, obviously, because we're able to access this. Smart card security, TPM embedded security. A lot of these things are part of more business class PCs. Diagnostics, I have used these quite a bit over the years with Hewlett Packard machines specifically. Hard disk self-test options obviously does not detect a hard disk, so it's not going to do any sort of scans. Memory check, so if you feel like you're having some memory errors, it has a built-in configuration, so you can do that. Startup check as well, checks all the components of the system as you're booting. System configuration, you can change it over your language. Boot options, device configurations, let's click on that, see what it is. So yeah, you can go in here and configure all the individual devices that are integrated into this machine. So you have your BIOS, data transfers, fan always on while on AC power. So you can have that always cooling. Data execution prevention, LAN power saving, SATA native mode. You can do all these wonderful changes. And it says Windows Vista Direct App Launch. it says disabled. So if anyone knows what that is, please let me know down in the comments. I'm not sure what that means, but obviously Vista was in mind when this was configured. Built-in device options, so we have embedded wireless LAN device radios enabled. We did see that installed. Network interface controllers enabled. LAN, WAN switching is disabled, so I mean you would do that yourself. Wake on LAN enabled. Optical disk drive is enabled, as well as our fingerprint device. And again, you could turn that off if you wanted to. Okay, under port options, we have our serial ports enabled. I didn't see one in this machine, but it's enabled. Parallel port, same thing. Flash media reader, which we saw that. USB ports, including express card slot, are enabled. 1394 and card bus slot are enabled. So, okay, so it looks like we have a fully functioning system. Let's see if I can pop in Knoppix in this and see if we can actually boot into any sort of operating system. We saw the Knoppix boot screen there real quick, the flash screen. Let's see if we're able to continue moving forward. Intel Celeron CPU has been detected with our 3 gigabytes of memory, and it's currently in the process of starting the live mode. And then it shows Intel, our HD audio controller. So we didn't know about that earlier. And let's see if we can see if any graphics. Yeah, here we go. So we have the Intel GM965 GL960 integrated graphics controller. Those are things generally you don't see all the time in, say, the setup screen, that you would generally rely on the drivers for Windows. But this is one of those operating systems that automatically detect that as we go. Okay, let's see if we can get into the desktop. And here we are booted into the live environment of Knoppix 9.1, which really puts the hardware and memory to test as it's booting, because obviously it's living in the memory currently, but it also goes through all the hardware, installs the temporary drivers to get everything installed and running. And as you can see, it's running without an issue, and the CPU is absolutely just kind of humming along. This laptop is in excellent condition for the age of it. It is absolutely in perfect shape. Like, even the palm rest itself doesn't even have the wear marks. It's almost like a time capsule of when the machine was manufactured in 2007, but you can see everything seems to be working quite well and would definitely support an operating system. All right, let's head off to our outro. And here we are at the end of the video. I know it's a sad part of the video. Don't worry, there'll be more content. We have the 2 laptops. We have the Dell Inspiron 1525 and the HP Compact 6710B laptops, notebook PCs that were donated to the Retro Recall by Carl, that look like they are both in absolute amazing condition. Almost like I said, they were time capsules from 2008 and 2007, respectively. The keyboards are in immaculate condition. There's absolutely no wear on the palm rests or even the track points themselves, as if they were purchased, used for a little bit, and just put on a shelf. And it's only by fluke that Carl had watched one of the YouTube videos. I think he said YouTube recommended one of my videos. He watched it. Now he's a subscriber and commented, and we lined up, and he's local. So it was really awesome. And there's a lot more hardware to show everybody. This is only 2 of the machines that I got from him through the process. So stay tuned for a future video. But again, having a Windows 7 running on this machine, it was designed for Windows Vista. But again, having Windows 7 running on this machine, we have Knoppix currently running on this machine. No hard disk, but we can fix that up. Both machines deserve some upgrades, whether we're talking, replacing the hard disk with an SSD or solid state setup with additional memory, or do we roll it back and restore these machines to get that nostalgic feel from 2007 and 2008? Let me know down in the comments. That's so important. I read all the comments, as you know, and respond to everybody, because you guys really help give me a lot of ideas of what we should do. I'm just looking at these and just saying, wow, just in absolutely stunning condition. That said, if you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 13,000 subscribers. Is this the week we do it? Please, hit that subscribe button, see what we can do. It helps the channel grow. Hit the notification button, change it to all. You'll be notified of new content such as this. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you'd like to see done with these PCs. Did you own one of these computers back in the day? Let me know. I'd really like to hear your comments. I love reading them all. I love the interaction on the channel, and I respond to absolutely every one of them. Always making new content. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.